Hey, welcome back, everybody. I'm Rich, and this is Richard White Global. Let's get into it. So, the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, they rolled out their new agenda this past week and what they would love to implement in the way they like to see our United States of America go, if and when they ever gain power. Lord willing, that will never happen, especially after we talk about the things on here today that they just rolled out. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, what is the DSA? Democratic Socialists of America. Well, they're just simply a party platform. They're not a, quote, specifically recognized political party in the United States. We still pretty much have the two-party system, Democrat, Republican. So they basically roll with the big D in front of their name to generate money, revenue, and interest, but they throw the socialists in the middle. So that's really what they are. Complete left-wing. I mean, they make Democrats look like middle-of-the-road conservatives. That's just what they do. Bernie Sanders, you can thank him for pretty much getting this rolling several years ago as he's ran for president numerous times. Unfortunately, now he's drug everybody into it. The face of the party basically is Zoran Mamdani, as we're all well aware, the New York City mayor, which has done absolutely nothing that he promised all of you who voted for him that you would do. Just as a short example, the free buses actually went up in price. So, and of course, people are fleeing by the tens and hundreds of thousands out of New York City, along with California, obviously, because of what's going on. So, there again, they are, according to their own statements, they are just simply a largest socialist political organization in the country. And again, socialist. They advocate for, and they're proud about all this, so this is not hearsay, expanded role of government in healthcare, housing, education, labor rights, and economic reform. Basically, they want to make government very big and basically make this a socialist government where everybody is literally on for lack of a better term, the government tit, because the mother's milk controls the hunger and the starvation of the calf. That's what they want. Government reform. They support major institutional reforms, including replace or eliminate the Electoral College. Just simply go with the popular vote of the United States for voting. We'll get into that. They would like to expand voting rights, which currently, by Constitution, is United States citizens only. And also, if you're incarcerated or locked up, you forfeit that right. That's in the Constitution. Healthcare, Medicare for all. Sounds great, but look up the countries that have it and look at their wait times, the quality of care, the facilities, and I know I've been in some of them in other countries, and the cost of taxation is astronomical. You think you pay taxes now? You ain't seen nothing yet. So, and also, there's no need to get better at healthcare because you're just a government employee. I don't care if you come to me, go to the other doctor. We're all government employees. We all get paid about the same. There's no incentive to have better healthcare. They want to move to a 32-hour work week with no reduction in pay. Sounds good, unless you own the business. If people theoretically think, well, we work 40 hours now, people play online, they're only getting 32 hours of production out of them anyhow. Okay, so if you're only getting 32 hours out of them for 40, what are you getting out of them when they only got to go to work for 32? It's just, you see the trend? So this will create astronomically higher taxes. It'll cut down jobs drastically. So if let's say you go from 5 days to 4 days, we just eliminated employees. In that respect, you helped a business because he don't need to hire those people to replace that 8 hours. So therefore, he don't need to pay Social Security. He don't need to pay health care expenses. He don't need to pay wages. You're out of a job. So, I mean, it's like kiosk machines. We'll pay you more per hour. Here, you get $15 or $20 an hour. You other four are out of a job. But that one guy gets $20 an hour. He's feeling good. Housing. They want to make housing much more affordable. Well, how do you do that? It's already a proven fact they released about 2 weeks ago that during the Biden lunacy presidency of illegal immigration, it drove up housing, apartment, and rents and mortgages by up to 30% increase because the government was just giving them the money. So, for example, if I want to rent to you an apartment for $1,000, okay, but hold on a minute. If I rent to this illegal or this guy, this whatever that doesn't belong here, the government will subsidize that and they'll give me $2,000 for that rent for him. So I hear $1,000 from you, American citizen. I hear $2,000 from the government for this illegal. I think I'll take the $2,000. Now, if you want it, you just got to pay $2,000. You see how this works? So the American citizen gets, he gets it all right. That's called rent control. Now, they also are in favor of freezing your rent. So if I own that property, I can't legally raise your rent. Well, sounds good if you're a renter, but what about me when the property taxes keep going up and I'm making a $500 profit margin? Well, now it's down to $300. Next year, they're going to raise my taxes again. I can't up your rent any. It's down to $200. I've got to fix things in your apartment. You know, water tank, carpet, whatever. You know, down. There's no profit. It's gone. So therefore, that squeezed me out to now make it social government housing. So you, Mr. Illegal, can have social government housing. And so you see how this works? That's exactly how this works. Look at China. For example, communist China. What does communism mean? Well, if you're a Chinese national in your own country of China, you can own your house. You can't own the dirt that it's on. That is government property, the dirt. They have no right to own the land. So theoretically, you're just putting a house, squatting it, and dropping it on government property that, by the way, they supersede you at any time, can take your house. That's the beauty of socialism and communism. You don't really have any say. But it sounds good if you don't contribute. So moving on. Education. They want to make a tuition-free public college for everybody. Student loan forgiveness. Don't worry about the bill that everybody else had to pay for you. Increased public funding education, which currently has been proven that most of the country can't read or write, at least 50% of them. That's driven by of course, as we all know, the Department of Education unions who adamantly are in favor of all of this. There again, less work. They want to go to the climate control policy, which, by the way, it's already been proven that's a farce for the most part. I mean, obviously, saving the environment's great. It is what it is. They want to end the war on drugs, basically legalize drugs, reduce incarceration. And basically what they're saying is they want to get rid of incarceration. You can look at many videos of these Democratic Socialists saying, well, what exactly does it really do? Does it really help? Mondale said it in a video a few years ago. Well, I don't see the purpose of incarceration. Well, you don't until the guy that got released moves next door and breaks into your house or is staring at you or rapes your wife or molests your children or just simply shoots you. Then you care. Police reforms. Another word of saying get rid of the police. They're on record. They're saying it endlessly. We don't want police. There again, they don't have an answer of what that means when there's no police, but they don't want any because bottom line is they say it's racism. Now, we can debate that all day. I don't know how it's racism when you look at the crimes. Either so-and-so shot so-and-so or he didn't. I don't care if you're black, white, green, or yellow. A crime's a crime. So, might have to do with some way we raise our people. Immigration. They adamantly, in their new rollout, want no borders, open, free, wheeling, dealing. We're just land. There is no borders whatsoever. They want immediate, and I mean immediate, amnesty and citizenship for everybody. Doesn't matter who you are. If you're in the country, automatic citizenship, amnesty for everybody. Doesn't matter if you're a criminal, mass murderer in another country, etc. We'll give you citizenship. So therefore, you're protected under the United States citizenship. So, I mean, they don't hide it. You can look all this up. This is not my propaganda. This is on their public information. And if you don't do your research, you're the idiot. They want to encourage immigration. There again, why? To simply build the House of Representatives their districts. And the more population you have, which is a major fault of the Constitution, I do blame the founders for this. You might want to clarify that censuses are counted for citizens and not just people. That's why they pretend to care about sanctuary cities and immigration. They could care less. They just need the numbers. If the Constitution simply stated citizens only affected House of Representatives, the number of them and funding, there would be no sanctuary cities. They would kick them to the curb faster than you can say goodbye because there'd be no benefit to them. That's a major fault that I do think needs to be amended, in my opinion. It should be the census is based on citizenship only. They also want to eliminate, well, let's get right into it, the presidency. They want the presidency gone. They just rolled it out in their platform. They want to eliminate the United States Senate, gone. They want to eliminate or replace the Supreme Court, gone. Supreme Court. So I don't know who makes the laws because they're the supreme law of the land. They want to write, yes, a new constitution. It says it right in their propaganda. Abolish the Electoral College. Well, why? I mean, a lot of people think, well, it makes sense if the population of the country votes for somebody, they should be elected. Well, it sounds good in theory, but when you look at 5 or 10 or whatever cities in the nation, basically control the presidency. So you would never see a politician campaign in Wyoming, the least populated state in the nation. Nobody would care about them anymore. Nobody would visit for Rhode Island, Idaho. Half the United States, no politician would even care about because they don't have enough votes to make any matter. So you just conglomerate everybody to coastal cities, New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Houston, Miami, DC. Well, there's your presidency. That's enough population to control the other 97% of the land that we know as the United States of America. There'd be no representation. And that's exactly what they want. They don't care about any states. They just want the power. We just want numbers. We don't care about representation or, dare I say, democracy. They don't want democracy. The party of democracy. They want to expand voting to everybody, regardless of status. You can just vote. Period. Why? Because if I'm in prison for murder or whatever, I'm probably going to vote for you, especially if you want to legislate no incarceration. If I'm up for murder, I'd kind of like to get out of here. And voting for you, Mr. Socialist, will help get me out of here. Thank you. I'll gladly vote for you. That's the whole backstory of this lunacy. I mean, it's like I said, it's right there on their websites. Read it yourself. They want to grow the unions. The unions who sounds like you would think is for the workers, although the majority of unions now are voting Republican because they realize that the unions don't really do anything for them. I mean, other than take union, and I know as a career union member, I know how it works. This is just, like I said, I'm getting this stuff from them. I'd like to make this up, but it's not. Like I said, replacing let's get into it. Replace or eliminate the presidency is part of their proposal. They say the president has too much power in one individual. Well, what's a monarch? I mean, you got to have a leader somewhere. You got to have somebody to make a decision when nobody else will. And you got to be responsible for that decision. They want a more of a parliamentary system. Well, by the way, parliamentary systems, let's just say the UK, just canned their prime minister again. Why? Well, if you don't like it, you just replace them. There's no strong momentum to stay in. There's no consistency. The governments collapse all the time, as parliaments say. The government is the power. There's basically no say from the people. For example, in the UK, the parliament makes the decisions. They don't have a Supreme Court. Their parliament is the Supreme Court. And it can change all the time. They would like to get rid of the Senate. The supporters for this say every person's vote should carry roughly equal weight. The Senate gives a disproportionate influence to small population states. Well, there again, that's democracy. Just because people don't want to live in Wyoming or Idaho, Montana, doesn't mean they shouldn't have representation. That's why the founders only put 2 senators in. That way, if a state's bigger or smaller, they at least have some equal say. But they do have the right to census population. That's how you build the House. So therefore, that's already there. You have many more representations in Congress on the House of Representatives based on population. And the critics of this simply say the Senate was intentionally created to protect smaller states. Well, duh, that's exactly what I just said. Eliminating it would remove major constitutional check on federal power. It's exactly right. That's because once the Democrats or Socialists are in power, they're never giving it up because they're going to alter the Constitution like they clearly state. They want a new Constitution. They want to eliminate the Supreme Court to make it more accountable to democratic institutions by restructuring it. Supporters say unelected justices hold too much power. Courts should be more accountable to the public. Well, they are. They have to follow the Constitution. Oh, that's right. They want to revise and write a new Constitution of what they wanted to say, not what the founders or this country was founded on, to be the most successful country in God's earth for 250 years. The critics of this, which is common sense, say judicial independence protects constitutional rights, which it does. Political control of the courts could undermine the rule of law. Exactly. Write a new constitution. They say the current constitution reflects the political realities of the 18th century. They say modern America requires more democratic structure. More democratic structure? They're trying to take away the democratic structure by doing this. But they won't say that out loud. But that's exactly what it is. So the critics argue the Constitution has provided stability for 250 years. Duh. We are the longest constitutional republic in history. And by the way, the most successful country that's ever been on earth in only 250 years. Look how many other empires have fallen because of their fascist monarchical dictatorship. Even they've taken away almost all the power of the monarch in the UK. They're basically a tourist attraction figurehead. They have zero say in government, and they don't belong to a political party. They're not even constitutionally allowed to inject any opinions into legislation in the UK. They just king or they just queen. That's pretty much what they do. They just own the land and make money for doing absolutely nothing except being born. They want to, again, abolish the Electoral College. Elect the president solely by the national popular vote. Sounds good until you lost the last election by the popular vote, by the way, Democrats, in case you didn't know that. Every vote should count equally. Critics say, well, that would take away all interest and no need, basically whatsoever, for less populated states. Again, like I've already said. Expand voting rights. Expand workers' democracy. Increase worker ownership of businesses. Well, now hold on a minute. Increase worker ownership of businesses. In other words, you want the government to run it. They want to co-op everything, which will take all the profit out of it. And when you take profit in capitalism out of a business, it's gone. You are now a socialist communist country. Look at China. Their wages are nil to none. Look at Japan. I was just there. Beautiful country. They don't make anything per hour, but that's their system. Look at other countries whose money is worth nothing compared to ours because everything goes to the government. Overreach. Everybody has a diaper that the diaper pins and the diaper come from the government. You don't get a choice of diapers. That's just all you get. So, but when you look at taxation, for example, the last time I checked a couple years ago, the London city tax and like 25%. Now try to let Americans know they're going to pay 25% sales tax just for health care. Oh, that don't count all the other local state. That don't count the chunks that the government takes every time you sell something. This is how this works. Because once you're on the system, you can't get off. There's no off-ramp. Without capitalism, there is no American dream. You never hear the Chinese dream. You never hear the Filipino dream. You don't hear the Russian dream. And by the way, for all these people who want to implement this, the one question they can't answer, well, two. Number one, where has it ever worked in history? Well, we don't know yet. Well, no, the answer you do know, zero. It's been tried for thousands of years all around the world. It's still being used today in every country that does not compete with the United States economy or capitalism or world power. Secondly, how are you going to pay for it? Well, you tax the rich. Well, who's the rich? The people, 95% of the rich pay 95% of the taxes. They don't want to talk about that. That's just fair share. Well, if you start charging more and more taxation, they're going to lay off more and more people to make they have stockholders. They want to eliminate all this. There again, make it government everything. Communal living. That's just exactly what they want. They don't want any say. As long as, like I said, as long as you're on the mother's milk, there's only one mother, and they want to make that the Socialist Party. That will be the only place to get milk. You won't have multiple stores to go get milk. You have one. What used to be Uncle Sam will now be known as whatever Uncle or Father Socialist. I don't know what his name will be, but I mean he'll probably have a sickle and something on him was what it's going to look like, or some kind of star that looks an awful lot like China, because that's how this works. If you notice the difference between North Korea and South Korea, right across the street, one is beautiful, plush, and successful. The other one is an absolute graveyard of desolation, gravel roads. Yes, fake stores that are a front to make it look like they do business. They actually don't sell products. Look that up. It's a front to look like they do business, but they don't. You can go into a store, for example. They don't sell products. It's basically a storefront like a Hollywood movie set. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. This is what you want to create with this. And this is where they're going. If we don't stop this, this is what the extreme left are going to do. And because they've already had over 30 or 35 primary wins already, and the primary season isn't over, to go on to the general election in November. People don't want to say this, but here's a fact. Hitler did not create the Nazi Party. Hitler joined the Nazi Party that existed years before he joined it. It existed long. He just simply, as an actual German soldier, he went there undercover to listen to them because he was told to, because this party is making some noise. So just to fast forward here, he did not start the Nazi Party. He just simply liked what they had to say, bought into it, listened to the propaganda, and then several years later, I think it started around 1919 approximately, you can check that. I think he joined it around the early 20s. And then it did not take majority power in German parliament until 1933. And then they made him the voice of the Nazi Party. Like I said, he didn't create it like people think. He was elevated and promoted because he sounded good and was a good salesman. Hint, hint, Mondami. He was the front man for it. And then in 33, all of a sudden, it sounded really good because they come off the Great Depression. He can do all these things. You know what? This guy's got a great voice. Let's elevate him, make him the face of the Nazi Party. Hint, hint, Mondami, DSA. It doesn't matter if it works. It's just a matter if we can sell it. You live on despair, negativity, and then you front man somebody out there. Like I said, Hitler didn't create the Nazi Party. He just simply joined it. You can look up his card number. You can look up I forget the number of his membership card number, and he paid his dues. Many years later, he just worked his way up to the front man for it. And the rest is history because he spoke good and he sounded like he could do a lot and make a big difference, folks. It's a slow burn. Like I said, I think like 1919 approximately is when the Nazi Party, National Worker Socialist Party, and then it was renamed, shortened it up until 33 to take power. So that's about 14 years it took to just simply gain the majority in Parliament. This is a slow burn, and we're burning much faster than the Nazi growth was. That's a warning. I should say that is a warning shot. America better wake up, because this is not going to happen today. They will slowly chip away at this until the Democratic Party collapses, which they already are doing. For example, the minority leader of the Senate, Chuck Schumer, the Jew, Chuck Schumer, who is supported Plattner, the guy with the SS swastikas, the SS symbol, skull and crossbones on his chest about 6 or 8 inches, that he was okay. He supported him because he needed to stay in power. How in the world a Jew can vote for anybody in the Socialist Party is beyond me, or even the Democratic Party, because they hate Israel. I don't get it. How can you vote for somebody that hates you and thinks you should not exist? Because you care more about power than telling the truth, Chuck Schumer, the Jew. Luckily, you burned out that guy because it was just too much to bear. Ro Khanna, the same thing. It don't matter the lunacy. He wants to tax the rich. The same guy that has a 4-story house in D.C., a wife worth tens of millions of dollars, and by the way, has a 4-story elevator in his house. Well, they just talk it because people are stupid enough to buy it. Hint, hint, Nazi Germany. You bought into it because you prey on the negativity of everything else. I'm going to build this, that, and the other. No way to pay for it. As a matter of fact, Hitler created false currency. Look that up too. It was false credits, kind of like promissory IOU notes. He just, for example, I think they started off at 6 months. That way the governments couldn't track that they were rebuilding their armed forces, which was against the Treaty of World War I, Versailles. So what do? He creates false currency. So I think they started off at 6 months. Well, we'll extend it. He never paid. People thought they were going to make all this money in interest by helping to launder money back to the Nazi Party in Germany to rearm themselves. They never got paid. He just kept extending the lie to suck people in to donate money. These people are doing the same thing, the DSA. Keep flooding money in here for false promises that they already know themselves will never happen. And if it does, the life we know as Americans, you will never see another 250. It's just a fact, folks. You're not going to see it. We're going to be done. You're going to have taxation like you've never seen, drug use like you've never seen. Look around the places that have it. And I'd love to hear your rebuttal on that one. And I hate to say this, but it's sad. On the illegal stuff, it's going to take, unfortunately, probably the harm, murder, rape, something of a Democratic Socialist or a Democrat in power, either them or their families, to pay the price before they're ever going to implement anything or agree that, hey, maybe that person shouldn't have been here. I don't want this to happen to anybody. But, for example, like Plattner, they didn't care about the Republican lady who claimed he sexually abused her and raped her. But a couple weeks later, when a Democrat said it, oh, his career was over, dead in the water. He's off the ticket. Because they couldn't argue with the Democrat, the party of believe all women. Remember that one? Believe all women if they're Democrat. This is where we are. This is where we are, people. And if it don't change, we are not going to be the party that the world wants to come to. This will not be the American dream. And with that, I look forward to your comments. Please reach out. Like I said, like and subscribe my YouTube channel, and let's get the word out, folks, because as Americans, we cannot let this continue on. Have a good day.